Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Driverless taxis could arrive in San Diego in the new year, bringing with them safety concerns. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The Governor's Highway Safety Association and Waymo released a training today, and it teaches first responders how to interact with the driverless taxis. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson says whether San Diego needs what it is under debate.
Waymo is taking what was once futuristic sci-fi and making it nonfiction.
The training teaches first responders what Waymo robo-taxis are, how to disable the self-driving mode, where to find proof of insurance, and where to avoid cutting the cars if they're rescuing someone from inside. Waymo announced plans to expand to San Diego next year, starting with downtown. But they need permits. And last month, the Metropolitan Transit System's Taxi Advisory Committee voted to formally protest. Shawnee Rivera chairs the committee.
That poses what I consider an existential threat to those who earn a living either driving a taxi cab or even driving rideshare. I also believe it's just the beginning.
They also raised concerns about public safety. Waymo recalled several thousand vehicles last week after they passed stopped school buses in Austin and Atlanta. And debate sparked in San Francisco this fall after Waymo ran over and killed Kit Kat, a beloved bodega cat. Waymo's own research suggests its cars are significantly safer than human drivers. The training presents Waymo as an inevitable future.
Like all great technology, all that number crunching, all that data just fades into the background.
The city of San Diego did not immediately answer whether the training will be required for its first responders. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
Well, overall tonight, we're dropping down into the low 50s. Some of us are going to continue to see the impacts of the marine layer, the low clouds, the fog early in the morning. However, it's improving bit by bit, and it'll continue to do so as we head into the weekend. I'll give you an idea of exactly what to expect coming up.
Well, it's that time of year when people look back on the last 12 months and make resolutions for the new year. That's how the White House billed President Donald Trump's primetime speech last night. But the address didn't seem to have concrete plans for 2026. As Amy Kiley reports, instead, it looks at 2025 through rose-colored glasses.
We have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history.
President Donald Trump addressed the nation last night and touted what he considers his accomplishments this year.
Instead of, I feel your pain, I understand that things hurt, but here's what I'm doing to try to make it better, give me some time. This message was, I'm awesome, don't you see how awesome I am?
He repeatedly blamed his predecessor and Democrats for the country's woes, despite Republicans controlling the government.
It is not the Republicans' fault, it's the Democrats' fault.
Trump announced holiday bonuses for members of the military. He addressed affordability concerns by claiming prices were down. Consumer Price Index reports have shown a recent increase.
Prices have not, in fact, fallen according to the broadest measure of the inflation rate.
Trump also spoke about health care, as average Obamacare premiums are set to more than double. He reiterated an idea that does not extend related subsidies.
The money should go to the people, that's you, so they can buy their own health insurance.
The president closed by expressing his hopes for the new year.
When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Yesterday, House Republicans passed a narrow health care bill aimed at small businesses and those self-employed. It did not address skyrocketing Obamacare premiums that will impact millions of Americans next month. A new Government Accountability Office report out this week says the Navy isn't doing enough to prevent shipyard fires like the one that destroyed the Bonhomme Richard in San Diego 5 years ago. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer says President Trump's federal workforce reductions are partly to blame.
The GAO says the Navy doesn't have the fire safety staff its own recommendations said it needed after the multi-billion-dollar loss of the Bonhomme Richard in 2020. An ATF investigation said the fire was arson, but also that conditions aboard the ship due to contracting work helped the fire spread out of control and destroy the ship. Who are these contractors?
We're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies.
Shelby Oakley is a director at the GAO who keeps tabs on Navy contracts and shipbuilding. From 2008 to 2020, the Navy had 13 major fires on ships in maintenance yards. It hasn't had any since the Bonhomme Richard. Oakley says over the last 5 years, the Navy's made significant efforts to improve its safety. But
it's just that those efforts didn't really focus on what the contractors were doing and how we're overseeing what the contractors are doing to hold them accountable to ensure that we don't have another fire like this.
Oakley says in its own investigations into the fire, the Navy failed to account for several fire safety violations a contractor on the Bonhomme Richard racked up. These occurred in the summer of 2019 and again in the spring of 2020, 4 months before the fire.
It really did raise a lot of question marks for us in terms of why these weren't something that was considered as a part of, the Navy's own investigation.
The Navy's investigations recommended better contractor oversight. The GAO found Trump's executive orders restricting federal hiring, compounded with buyouts and early retirements this year, are directly affecting the service's ability to follow its own advice.
Pretty much every area maintenance center that we talked to talked about these staffing shortages and not having enough people to have the boots on the ground to even know what the contractors are doing at all times.
She says the GAO is seeing other impacts from the federal workforce reductions.
We've been seeing across a number of our other efforts that those have been having a significant impact on staffing within the Navy specifically, but other services as well, too.
We reached out to Naval Surface Force in San Diego as well as the White House, but neither responded. The GAO surveyed 6 Navy ships since the Bonhomme Richard fire. It found 343 fire safety violations among shipyard contractors, a number Oakley says would be lower if the Navy held its contractors accountable. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
New state legislation is aiming to set stricter limits on exposure to a toxic gas created by sewage. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says the change could help communities near the Tijuana River and Salton Sea.
California's current limit for hydrogen sulfide is designed for odor control. It's not an indicator of health risks. Research has shown communities near the polluted Tijuana River experience prolonged exposure to the toxic gas. Residents have reported symptoms like coughs, nausea, and headaches.
We've shown that up to 3/4 of the bacteria you breathe in the air down there come directly from that polluted river.
Kim Prather is an atmospheric chemist at UC San Diego. She has led that research. She says the state standard doesn't inform the public what frequent spikes or chronic exposure mean for their health.
So many gases, and I can't tell you how many emails and calls I get. Is the air safe to breathe?
State Senator Steve Padilla is using Prather's data to introduce Senate Bill 58. It would require the state to consider updating the hydrogen sulfide standard. In a statement, Padilla says, quote, "The regulatory standard monitoring the very air our families breathe is so woefully out of date, leaving communities at risk." Prather agrees. She says a more modern standard can better guide public health.
The air is completely different now than it was when these standards were made. And so how to address that is a tough one.
Padilla says the Senate will hear his proposal in January. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
The annual point in time count is coming up at the end of January, and there's still a month left for volunteers to sign up. KPBS Penner fellow Amy Burris reports what the homeless count looks like for people interested in participating.
One morning every January, over 1,000 San Diegans wake up before dawn for the point-in-time count. It's a nationwide effort to tally the number of individuals experiencing homelessness. Joseph Villanueva has participated for years.
Definitely waking up very early in the morning, so it's cold, but you feel very motivated.
Participants all share an overarching goal to help make sure the needs of homeless people are identified and addressed. The point-in-time count data is essential for effectively distributing federal funds to local agencies. The 2026 count is on January 29th. In San Diego County, 1,700 total participants are needed to make it happen. The sign-up portal is on the website for the Regional Task Force on Homelessness, and the registration deadline is just over a month away. Deanna Beck is director of the San Diego County Office of Homeless Solutions. She says the count is one way people can make sure homeless San Diegans have the resources they need.
They will just feel good about themselves knowing that they participated in something that brings a lot of funding to our region from the federal government.
Anyone can sign up and volunteers can pick their location. Counties that receive federal funding for homelessness must conduct a count of unsheltered people at least every other year. But Matt Brown with the Office of Homeless Solutions says San Diego County chooses to do it every year.
That number is something everybody looks forward to every year. So really having fresh and updated data helps everybody figure out how to utilize the limited budgets that are available across the jurisdictions and region.
Once the data is collected locally, it gets sent to the federal government. This information will help direct spending and decision-making for the next year. Emmy Burris, KPBS News.
Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNews Source, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, new data show inflation could be easing. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
In the midst of the winter holiday season, America has a problem, an affordability problem, and the latest jobs report shows things may not be getting much better. New federal data found inflation unexpectedly cooled in November, but as Lee Waldman reports, people are still feeling the pinch of high prices.
America's cost of living problem is simple math. Inflation spiked several years ago, and paychecks haven't had enough time to catch up. This week's November jobs report revealed Americans got a raise over the past year. Wages are up about 3.5%, but many people just aren't feeling it.
People just don't feel as confident as they used to, which is sort of a scary place for an economy.
Although Thursday's Consumer Price Index shows the rate of inflation actually slowed in November to 2.7%, that reading may be incomplete due to a disruption in data collection during the shutdown, and there still isn't a lot of wiggle room in people's wallets.
Things that we spend on a regular basis, whether we're eating out at restaurants, filling up our gas tank, paying for our monthly energy bill, it sort of wipes away the income gain.
Moreover, growth in wages isn't hitting all earners equally, according to data from Bank of America. Households with higher incomes saw 4% bumps in pay, while middle and low income households were just 2.3% and 1.4%, respectively. Economist Jadrian Wooten says inflation impacts how pay gains are felt.
Wealthy Americans don't spend a lot of their income on groceries, but low-income Americans who are spending a larger percentage of their income on groceries, if that goes up by 2%, that takes up a much larger increase in their income.
With softening labor markets, sinking wage growth, and prices still on the rise, the 2026 outlook for the economy remains uncertain.
We're seeing mixed signals, and sort of the optimism out of that is that it is possible that the inflation rate continues to come down, that the unemployment rate does sort of level off and start coming back down.
While the inflation rate is the lowest since July, economists caution that the slower reading could be a result of shutdown-related disruptions in that data collection process. In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
If you're in the market for a new Tesla, you may want to accelerate those plans. California is threatening to ban the sale of Tesla cars in the state for 30 days. It's because a regulator alleges the term autopilot for Tesla's driver assist feature is false advertising. The Department of Motor Vehicles says Teslas do not live up to the term because they're not capable of operating as truly autonomous vehicles.
I've been an automotive journalist for about 20 years, and I've never heard of it, such a thing. I think that, my hunch tells me that the DMV wouldn't do something unless they really had it backed up.
100% of the time,
you as the driver have to, of course, be in the driver's seat, and you have to be paying attention and be able to take over at any moment.
The DMV first brought action against Tesla for the use of the term autopilot in 2023. The two sides have not been able to reach an agreement. Rewind the clock now to a time when it was an early morning ritual. Bottled milk was delivered directly to your door before most people were even up for the day. Not many milk delivery drivers are around anymore, unfortunately, but Ken Kramer found one for this story about San Diego.
In the neighborhood east of 47th and Logan, if you could rewind the clock to, say, the 1950s, you know what you would see? Cows, dairy cows, for milking at the Knox Dairy. Ray Thompson remembers.
We produced the milk there, we bottled it there, and we delivered it from there. We didn't have to truck in milk.
Everybody knew the Knox Dairy, owned by Harley Knox, San Diego mayor in the late 40s, had their offices in a drive-up window at 4810 Logan Avenue, San Diego, 13, California. But the thing is, they delivered milk to your door. Well, all dairies did in those sweeter, simpler times. The milkman brought it, and Ray was a milkman.
Well, the people were very trustworthy then. I had numerous keys to people's houses.
He drove one of these trucks, and in the early morning, Ray and his fellow drivers had routes all over the city. He knew his customers, the families, the kids, and they knew Ray. He was the milkman.
A lot of homes, they were still asleep when I was in putting the milk in the refrigerator in the kitchen. You know, and I didn't slam the door when I went out either.
When he gave out a calendar at the holidays, well, there were his own kids in the picture with some good and good-for-you healthy Knox milk. His wife did the bookkeeping, kept track of who got the chocolate or buttermilk, skim milk, cream, even oleomargarine and fresh eggs. Anything, you just called him at home.
And then I've had him give me old coins as change to pay the milk bill. And they called my house and, Ray, I must have given you my coin, part of my coin collection. Do you have a such and such year, a dime or quarter? And I said, well, I've still got my change. I'll look and see. And sure enough, it was I forget if it was a dime or a quarter or what it was that she'd given me and she hadn't meant to.
A lot of us who remember the neighborhood milkman know what those old Divco trucks looked and sounded like, how dogs up the street would start barking. They knew those squeaky brakes. And it worked both ways, Ray says. The milkman knew us, too. There was a customer one day, he says.
And she always met me at the door, and she didn't meet me that day. And I was on Shimon Avenue. Her name was Mrs. Cook. And so I come in, and she had a heart attack. So I called the fire department and police, and they come and have everything turned out fine.
Eventually, customers stopped asking for home delivery. Costs went up, supermarkets stocked milk, and in San Diego, like everywhere else, an era ended. But you know what?
I've had people stop me in La Mesa on the street say, Ray, you remember me? I used to be our milkman.
He remembers when it was cows east of 47th and Logan, and a simpler and more trusting time along Ray Thompson's delivery route around and about San Diego.
Ken Kramer has a half hour of stories every week about San Diego. You can see them Thursday nights at 8 o'clock right here on KPBS.
Well, overall, as we head into tomorrow, we're going to see the marine layer improving a little bit by bit as we head into the weekend. We'll see less of the fog, less of the low clouds. We do have a cooling trend that starts this weekend. Thursday has kind of been our peak of the heat. Then we start to see those numbers lowering. Overall, looking ahead to next week, we do have a system we're watching that's going to bring some rain and right around Christmas. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. But first, I want to give you an idea. There's an air quality alert mainly north of our area here, but going throughout the rest of today, just something to keep in mind if you're heading north at all. Overall tonight, we're dropping down into the 40s and the 50s, 48 in Mount Laguna, 50 for San Diego, 42 for Ramona. We continue with some of the clouds really everywhere but up into areas like Borrego Springs. Now, taking a look ahead to tomorrow, we're in the 70s, we're in the 80s. Big variation here because Oceanside we have 68, Escondido we're at 76, and then 83 by the time we get to Borrego Springs. It's warmer than it typically is. These are temperatures above our historical averages, but we're going to start to course correct as we head into the next couple of days. So taking a look at your extended forecast along the coast, well, coast continues to stay pretty mild in the mid-60s. We usually see those showers moving in Tuesday, continuing into our Wednesday. So I know these are big holiday travel days. Just keep in mind that we could have some rain that could lead to some slowdowns for you. Looking further inland, we're in the 70s, 78 for Friday. We get down to 71 and even 70 by the time we get into early next week. So bit by bit, we're seeing those temperatures get back closer to our historical averages for mid to late December. Taking a look at our mountain regions, we're down into the 50s, 52 by the time we get to Monday. A whole 10-degree difference from tomorrow to your Monday. The clouds roll in Tuesday, continuing with that system that I was talking about with the rain. Into our desert regions, we're at 83 for your Friday. We drop down into the low 70s by the time that we start the next work week, 72 for both your Monday and your Tuesday. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Anna Azalian.
Maxx Moses is an internationally acclaimed muralist, but he began by spray painting graffiti illegally in New York. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has this profile of the artist who runs graffiti gardens in Encanto.
There's a reason graffiti artists are called writers. It's because writing your name big and bold is important. It's empowering, it defines who you are, it's your mark on the world and the introduction to your story. Just ask Pose 2, aka Mr. Maxx Moses.
I started in New York painting subway trains, you know? When I was a kid doing it, people hated it.
Hated it because it wasn't about asking permission. It was done guerrilla style and was often looked upon as vandalism. Moses remembers his first reaction to seeing students painting on canvases in a fine arts class.
I was mad at them because they had like safety, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm getting chased by the police and you in here laughing and painting.
But that was decades ago. Now Moses is an acclaimed artist with murals in Moscow, Dubai, San Diego, and across the U.S. And now he works with both a brush and a spray can.
There's like this certain quietness about painting with a paintbrush. This is loud and boisterous and aggressive.
That was Moses back in 2013 when I first met him.
This is like a brush with air. It's all about like mastering how hard you press, how soft you press, how close you are. The type of cap that you have on, like what I just did is a fat cap, so it's naturally spraying wide, you know?
His love for graffiti led him to create a unique art space.
It's sitting in the heart of southeastern San Diego, and Graffiti Gardens is this sanctuary of art for artists and art lovers.
Moses found the space during COVID.
I love to paint big, and I was like going to people and asking them, can I paint their wall? I'm so tired of asking people, can I paint their wall? Like, I need my own place to just paint. And so my mentor told me about this place, and the landlord showed me this location. I was like, whoa, this is awesome. She was showing me the inside, and I was like, no, I don't want to rent that spot. I just want to rent the walls.
Walls begging for his bold colors and dynamic lines. But finding large canvases is a challenge. So the art that grows at Graffiti Gardens is ever changing.
They always change, and we do events where we invite artists from other parts of the city or other cities to come and just change and transform the place all at one time.
Accepting the impermanence of his art may come from his early roots tagging as a kid in New York.
Coming from the whole graffiti movement, like, you know, you're out in the street and you're painting, and then you know how you have people that may not like you so much, and then they go over what you do. Like, once it's out in the street, it doesn't belong to you anymore, and it's just a release. So I try to keep that same mentality of just like, yo, it's done, it's released, it's out there, because I'm still alive, I can create some more.
Moses lives to create. So in addition to painting murals on the outdoor walls, he has an indoor studio where he creates smaller works on canvas.
It's like that first layer of painting, it's like almost like scrubbing it in.
He also teaches and will host a 2-day workshop next month.
We're doing this thing called Graffiti and Beyond, which is like teaching you like the basic forms of graffiti as an art form and how it's grown in the culture that it comes from, but then also mural making, because it's important. How do you scale up a drawing and take it to the next level?
Moses is always looking to take it to the next level. So it was difficult when Graffiti Gardens was flooded last January during the heavy storms, and he couldn't work for months.
it's kind of biblical, right? It's like after the flood, and then it's like, all right, bang. It's like almost like a cleansing of like, yo, what's gonna take place next? So we're resilient. I personally have a lot of resilience in my being, you know, being an entrepreneur. Like you have to just have that, you know, and be able to face the trials and tribulations and move forward. And that's what makes us stronger, makes us more assertive and strong and beautiful.
You can't see the beauty of graffiti gardens from the street. In fact, there isn't even a sign to advertise its existence. But you can find this oasis of art at 6785 Imperial Avenue, right at the edge of the San Diego Black Arts and Culture District. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Another great story by our Beth Accomando. And if you want more local arts and culture, you can check out the KPBS podcast. It's called The Finest. You can listen to the whole first season now and get ready for season 2 in the new year. You can hear all of the episodes at kpbs.org/thefinest or wherever you get your podcasts. Here's a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, Palestinians in Gaza are slowly bringing back Christmas celebrations after more than 2 years of war. And KPBS Roundtable is taking a look at 2025, talking to KPBS reporters about the biggest stories they covered this year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.